evening, Lisa.
Good evening, Andrew.
Are you being served?
Mm-hmm.
Do you take this man?
Yes.
Right. The first word I wrote down was orange.
Yes.
Who is orange?
Mrs. Slocum has very orange hair. She's
Yeah.
been tangoed.
Has she? Okay, I didn't think of that. Yeah. There are a few customers knocking about
There are,
today.
Yeah. And none of them get to talk, apart from Felix
Yeah.
Boness.
Mr. Harmon appears with a display of frames for
Yes.
glasses
Mhm.
for Mr. Humphreys.
Yes.
Apparently he's been suffering from headaches.
Mhm.
Mr. Lucas says that he's been doing needlepoint,
Mm.
and he says he doesn't do needlepoint, not since he started doing lace mats.
Hmm.
So he tries on various ones,
Yes.
which get increasingly silly, don't
Yes.
they?
Yes.
There's one which is really like thin.
Yeah, there's like the sort of glasses in the war games.
Yeah.
That the
Oh yeah,
the aliens were
Yeah.
sort of different.
for looking through
Generals.
letterboxes,
Yes.
as they say.
Mhm.
And the last one is sort of real sort of Elton John, isn't
Mhm.
it? It's all big and
Yeah.
or possibly even Dame Edna,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, because the sort of there's some ones earlier on that glitter in. They're quite Elton John.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
But Mr. Harmon is told to go away, and he goes,
By Captain Peacock.
"To hear is to obey, O master,"
Yeah.
as though he's like sort of pardon my genie or
Yes.
something like
Yeah.
that. But Felix Bonez is interested in camisole and pantaloons.
Yes,
isn't
well, he wants to buy some underwear for somebody,
Yeah.
and he says, "Is it what are the is it the latest trend?" Mrs. Slocum pulls up a hem of her skirt and shows her that she's wearing the sort of pantaloons, and he says, "Oh yeah, no, that
That's
matches ours,
convinced
so-"
me.
Yes,
And
he doesn't buy them.
Does a rapid retreat, doesn't
Yes.
he? But then talk turns to Mr. Metaxas,
Mhm.
who is a Greek fella
Mhm.
that was at the restaurant when
Mhm.
she went there with Mrs. Axelby.
Yes.
He was staring at them, and he wanted to give her an ouzo.
Mhm.
Well, and apparently he's well known for his bouzouki.
Yes.
Which is described as a Greek banjo, but yeah, they threw some plates
Mhm.
to show their appreciation,
Mhm.
his ability with his bouzouki,
Yes.
and she's been out with him every night for a month.
Yes. I noticed as well why she's having this conversation with Miss Brahms. Going to go off to a tangent. Like, their uniforms have changed.
Have they?
Yes.
I didn't notice that
Because
at all.
they were wearing brown before,
Right.
and now they're wearing black.
All right.
And it's just like a waistcoat and skirt,
Okay.
whereas it was a waistcoat, but it had a sort of a collary thing. So yeah, now they're in black.
I didn't notice that at all,
Yeah.
which is why I didn't write it down. Well done. Have to go back and look now.
Mhm.
So, if they've been out every night for a month,
Mm.
has it been happening in previous episodes? then?
Possibly, yeah.
So, was this happening when they were doing up the
Club.
club and all
Yeah.
that? But although it was supposed to be a secret about him popping the question,
Yes.
word almost immediately gets around.
Yes. Captain Peacock hears, and then he calls over the men's department.
And Miss Brahms says he got her with his bazooki.
Bazooka.
Bazooka. Yeah, sorry, his bazooka. But Mr. Tebbs wonders if she's going to leave.
Mm.
And when she says she's got no plans to leave, he just goes damn it and walks
Yes.
away.
So, every time I say bazooki as well, it makes me think of Godzuki.
All right, okay. But apparently there's someone for everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, here's Martha.
Mm.
Mr. Rumbold sort of sees that everybody's sort of crowded
Yes,
round,
not working.
and sort of has to stick his oar in.
Mhm.
When he hears he wants to be the first to congratulate her,
Mhm.
and it turns out he actually is the last. But
Yes.
then he immediately starts sort of wondering what she's going to buy.
Yes, you're doing a spiel, isn't he, for Grace Brothers?
About staff discount.
Yeah.
How she can go.
Trousseaux and.
What is a trousseau?
A trousseau is, as far as I understand, it's what somebody would put, a woman would put in her bottom drawer to save for a wedding. So I think it's like underwear and
Right.
clothing of various kinds. I've never really looked into it, but that's my understanding.
I've never seen a trousseau.
No, I've never seen a trousseau. They do stop doing them a while ago.
Yeah. But then he goes on about, and maybe in the course of time, maybe prams and things like that.
And a layette, which is it's like a trousseau for babies.
All right.
Baby clothes and things, I think.
What, a drawer to put the baby in?
Not to put the baby in, not like what's her face in the British Empire.
Or a Sergeant Court.
Or Sergeant Court, yeah.
Anyway, we're in the canteen.
Mm-hmm.
And she's worried about the cost of the wedding, and she's planning now on meat paste and brown ale.
Yeah, she started out with champagne and smoked salmon. Yeah, she's on meat paste and brown ale.
But then you've got the problem of who's going to be the bridesmaid and all this. Maybe Mrs. Axelby.
No, who's going to give her away? Because she's asked Miss Brahms to be her bridesmaid.
Yeah, sorry. So Mrs. Axelby's apparently got a moustache. Mr. Humphreys was a page boy once, or dressed as one anyway, and turns out this was when he was 31, and he was Viola in Twelfth Night. Where was it?
Derry and
Tom's. Apparently he was in Do It Yourself,
yes.
which is something you don't bandy about. But yeah, everything costs so much. But maybe young Mr. Grace could sort of arrange a special price. But when does she want to have the wedding? As soon as possible. Hello, goes Mr. Lucas. And
she says he's not that kind of man.
He's not that kind of man at all. And Mr. Humphreys pricks up his ears. Hello.
Yeah.
So Mr. Humphreys is interested. But then with young Mr. Grace, and Captain Peacock's going to give her away in the end.
Yes.
First of all, they talk about having the reception in the boardroom. But clearly they can't afford to build the set.
No.
And the day they're talking about, young Mr. Grace has got a tea party for distressed nightclub hostesses, because apparently he does a lot of charity work. So he says, well, you might as well use the department. And again, they sort of go through what they can sort of cater. And eventually they go for, what is it, Japanese champagne and a load of dead things in jelly.
Yes.
Doesn't sound very nice.
It doesn't, no. It's the cheapest package, though.
But yeah, there's dress, shirt and trousers. What? I've no idea what that note's about.
Well, the next scene is them getting ready for the wedding.
Yeah.
So perhaps you're talking about they're in morning dress, aren't they?
Okay, yeah.
You're not sure.
I don't know what this says. It also says C-Met flush. What's that about? I think I've gone into a surrealistic mode with my notes there. I don't know. Clearly he wasn't paying attention to the note. I'm going to worry about that. But Mr. Humphreys, he's on the phone to his mum.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's the for the dress, isn't it? Yes, sorry.
And he's going to alter the dress, isn't he? His mum's worried about when he's going to come home, but it turns out he's got salad.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter.
No.
And she says about taking the shortcut cut across the park.
Yes.
But apparently
they've caught the man.
They've caught the man. Oh, I know what it was. It was the card game, strip poker.
Oh right, yeah.
Young Mr. Grace and his secretary were having a game of strip poker.
Yes.
And it was her dress against his shirt and trousers.
Oh right, okay.
And she says, "And you were going to see me." And then his thing starts flashing.
Yeah.
So his nurse has to come in and attend to him. I knew there was a reason for that.
Right, okay. Yes. Okay.
Glad we solved that mystery.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's having another flash.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we see the wedding dress.
Yes.
Which is described as Princess Grace. Who's Princess Grace?
Of Monaco, Grace Kelly.
Right.
She was married to Prince Rainier of Monaco.
Right. Why is that? Why is it?
I don't
what's special about her dress?
No, it's nothing like her wedding dress.
All right.
And that's a lot earlier anyway. It's not.
But it's got a huge train, hasn't it?
Yes. And she's got like a little sort of pillbox hat kind of thing with a veil. But it's a bit tight.
The trouble is, it's all open at the back because the zip's not doing up. She chose this one though because it was reduced by 50%.
Yes.
If they could reduce her by 50%, she might fit in it.
Yes.
So eventually they sort of get her to sort of lean forward, and Mr.
Mhm.
Humphreys manages to do the zip up somehow. And then she gets up and it's all open at the front now
Yes.
instead.
Front's popped open.
Yeah. But they say if she holds her flowers there, maybe it'll cover it. And they think maybe Kew Gardens would be
Yes.
enough. I don't know. So she calls the Greek restaurant to talk to Mr. Metaxas, but apparently he's doing one of his turns with his bouzouki, and you can hear a load of plates smashing,
Yes.
and then he's got to take an encore. So she never gets to. You never actually hear him or see him, do
No.
you? Through all of this.
Not Mrs. Mallory.
Yeah. But there's a new development that she's got an uncle in America
And she wrote to.
who's very well off,
Mhm.
and he sent a letter saying he's coming over
Yeah.
for the ceremony, and he's going to give them a house.
Yes.
Blimey.
Because his father-in-law's life was saved by the Greek partisans in the Second World War,
Yeah.
and his father-in-law left him the business, and he's a rich man.
Yeah. So it's going to be like the full thing. They're going to have a band with dancing and everything, and they're going to Greece for the honeymoon. And then she got a picture of his family,
Yes.
and his brothers seem to be in skirts. So Mr. Humphreys wonders how much it is to go over there.
Yes.
But yeah, so a bit later on at the actual ceremony.
Well, pre-ceremony.
Well, yeah. So everybody's dressed up.
Top hat and tails.
Top hat and tails.
That's what I thought you were talking about before.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mr. Humphreys and Mr. Lucas come out of the lift together and start putting on my top hat and all that. Mr. Tebbs is somewhat ill-fitting though,
Yes,
isn't he?
I think Mr. Lucas might have taken his measurements.
Young Mr. Grace is let them have his Rolls Royce.
Go to the church.
Well, for £12. Miss Brahms is in pink. And apparently the dress makes Mrs. Slocum look about 16.
Yes.
That's a remarkable garment.
Yes.
But then enter Gordon Kay with a moustache
And a wig.
and a wig. Okay. Apparently Mr. Metaxas is now in an aeroplane.
Yes.
Because he's close to his family, and a member of his family says he must go home. And this family member turns out to be his wife.
Yes.
Oh dear. But he's brought his bouzouki with him instead. So enter Mrs. Slocum in full regalia.
Yes, and there's some bits been added to the dress, isn't there?
It's sort of yellowy now, isn't it?
It's ivory. It was ivory before.
Was it? It looked a bit more yellow, but to me. But anyway. But of course, everybody's upset now at this news. Miss Brahms goes off crying, and Mrs. Slocum sort of shouts after her, "Your day will come, Miss Brahms." But yeah, Mr. Humphreys starts to cry and has to go off, and even Mr. Lucas has to blow his nose, doesn't he? So yeah, everybody's upset. They give the bouzouki to Mrs. Slocum. Apparently they're priceless, and then Captain Peacock takes her off to the fitting room to explain in private. Mr. Humphreys said he would marry her, but she's probably got enough problems.
Yes.
Yes, but apparently theirs was a frail, tender love, according to... Was it Mr. Tebbs said that?
Yes.
Then you hear a load of abuse from the fitting room directed Mr. Metaxas. There's always various noises of like sort of things twanging and like ruler. Well, it's like rulers twanging and like springs going and things like that, which we presume is the bouzouki being broken, but we never actually see it.
Don't see it.
But yeah, so what can they do? Because Mrs. Slocum's uncle is going to come, and they've managed to get him to come here instead of to the church. But of course she won't get the house.
No, don't get married. She don't get the house.
So they try and think of a way to sort of fix it and sort of pull the wool over his eyes, and because Mr. Rumbold would have to pay if the ceremony doesn't go ahead, and it's £150 bill. So Mr. Tebbs is delegated to be a Greek priest.
Yeah, Archbishop.
And so Mr. Harmon's got some records, which is like Here Come the Bride and some Greek
Sort of
music as well.
Yeah, chanting.
Mr. Tebbs has gone off to be fitted with curtain material.
Yes.
And a hat with black enamel all over it.
Which they've stolen from a chef.
Yeah. And he's all held together with safety pins,
Yes.
apparently. Mrs. Slugham's had 3 large brandies already. But yeah, the lift goes, enter Mr. Tebbs in his...
Full regalia.
What do you think of it? It's quite elaborate, actually.
It is,
yeah.
but then I think Greek priests or archbishops are quite
I
elaborate.
don't know quite how accurate it is, but...
Yeah. I'm not sure it's entirely accurate, but it's
But they've set up a
enough
sort of
like
altar
it.
with various
items.
items, and he's got a sort of cover for the sort of Bible. He's got the British Boys Annual.
Yes.
It was either that or the Guinness Book of Records.
Yeah.
But he's referred to as Archbishop Alitosis by Mr. Harmon, and he starts sort of coming out with all this fake Greek, basically. So Ali Pali Mospros and all this.
He's
all
talking
this
to
stuff.
Mr. Grace. Now, you would have thought at this point, you would have thought Mr. Grace might have recognised him.
Mr. Grace doesn't remember a lot, though, does
No,
he?
he doesn't, no.
Yeah. But Mr. Lucas is the best man, and mister Humphreys is going to be the husband.
Yes, because they were going to try and get... because they've got a Greek band.
Yeah, but they...
But they wouldn't cooperate, but they lent them some costumes.
Yeah.
But then they'll play music for them.
But the guests arrive, and so do the band. Then the American uncle comes in, played by Norman Mitchell.
Yes, in Stetson.
Doing an accent and dressed as a sort of half as a cowboy with a suit on.
I don't know if it is a Stetson. It's like a sort of cowboy
It's a big hat, and he sort of greets the Archbishop, the fake Archbishop, who starts saying things like Euripides, Aristotle, and things like that. And the uncle says he's going to have to donate to the church because that guy's held up with safety pins. Enter Mr. Humphreys.
Yes.
And
Norman Mitchell thinks he's Slocum.
Yeah. He picks him up because he's dressed as the Greek National Guard.
Yes, in a skirt.
In a skirt and the hat, red hat with the sort of dangly bits. But yeah, so Mr. Humphreys and Mr. Lucas say they come from the same village, which is
Puftos, isn't it?
Puftos. Yeah. Deary me.
So it's the 70s.
So they start up with "Here Comes the Bride" on the record player. Pull back the curtain for the changing room. Mrs. Slocum's got just drained another bottle, isn't she? And she's extremely peed up, isn't she?
I know, headdress is all the
and they start to sort of go up the aisle that they've made, and the record sticks.
Yes.
And they keep doing the same step.
Yeah, they don't get any further on, do
This is
they?
really silly, you wouldn't do that. She takes one look at Mr. Humphreys and bursts out laughing. And then, dearie me, you get the ceremony with Mr. Tebbs waving various items about, which include a candle, a toilet chain, cistern, chain thing, salt and pepper, some sort of spray, and what was it? Some sort of grindy thing.
Yes,
I don't
like
know
a coffee grinder or something.
I don't know quite what it is. But yeah, can't read that either. I declare you manos and wifos.
Yes.
He says. And that's almost it.
Yeah.
On the page. Apart from we have to now span out the episode a few minutes with the traditional bridal dance. So they have to clear the floor of all the chairs for a start, and then they start doing a sort of arm-in-arm thing.
Yes, they sort of do. I can't.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because they don't get it right anyway, do they?
No, they sort of do.
They do.
I can't ask.
So it's Mr. Humphreys and Mrs. Slocum at first. Though Captain Peacock and the nurse are sort of, and they sort of start to sort of get involved
In
don't
background,
they?
yes.
And then Mr. Lucas and Mr. Humphreys end up dancing together eventually, don't they? And Mr. Rumbold sort of got himself on the end as well. And then they just sort of dance up and down as the credits roll. And do you know what I wrote down? So does she get to keep the house?
Well, yeah, she's married the Greek, isn't
Yeah.
she?
So Mrs. Slocum's now got a
Yes.
house from here on.
Yes.
So does she sell it straight away or
I
what?
don't know.
Because
Don't know how
surely
it's
she doesn't need
referenced.
a big house if it's only her and her pussy. But
Yeah, but it's her house. Don't have to pay rent on it.
I know. But, don't know.
So I don't think it's ever referred to ever again.
But you like this one, don't
I do,
you?
yes. It's a very silly one.
Yeah.
And it's just all the little elements. It's Mr. Tebbs, it's Mr. Humphreys and Mr. Lucas dressed as Greek
Yeah.
sort of men, and all the silliness. And
Because this does seem to like fall into the dress up people in silly costumes and have a little song and dance bit
At
as
the
well,
end, yeah.
which is what's sort of increasingly starting to happen now,
Yes.
isn't it? So
Yeah.
it is a familiar sort of thing.
I've just realised I don't know who had the first credit. I wasn't paying attention.
Neither was I. No, I don't know. But you enjoyed that, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did too. You do wince at some of
Yes,
it.
some of the language is
Yeah.
a little ripe,
Yeah.
shall we say?
Yeah.
But it's the 70s. So.
But there we go. But yeah, quite fun, I think.
Mhm.
I think we'll say good night then.
Yes.
See you again too then.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.